I appreciate everyone having us here and having me here. Yeah, this is our third year being directly involved with the V-GTS, so definitely honored to be here. Let's see, Emily, I think we had originally planned on you sharing my screen, but not a problem. Let me just go ahead and do this real quick. Okay. Okay.
I'm good if you want to, Jack. I can share it.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right. You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Perfect.
Oh, not I press share here. Slideshow. All right. Can someone give me a thumbs up? Can you see that? Wonderful. Okay,
Great.
Jack.
All right, cool. Thank you so much. Yeah, like I said, third year being directly involved. Really appreciate it. Really honored to be here. My name is Jack Pongyesva. I am the Grand Canyon Associate at the Grand Canyon Trust. I'm in the Grand Canyon program. I help manage the Intertribal Centennial Conversations group. Hopefully a lot of y'all have heard of our group, ICCG for short. It's kind of a mouthful. But we basically have a wonderful group of tribal members who are community leaders and grassroots advocates that advise us how to work with the park and work with great people like Ed Keeble and Jan Balsam and Mike Linden to help really integrate Indigenous people back into Grand Canyon National Park due to the past 100 plus years of history and kind of forced exclusion from the park itself. So we're trying to kind of repair relationships and try to bring a next 100 years that has stronger ties and more amiable partnerships going forward in recognizing the last 100 years of kind of a turmoil, so to speak, when it comes to Indigenous people and the federal government and the park. So that's in a nutshell kind of what we are and what drives our group, but there's so much that's involved. So we'll go ahead and get started. So like I said, we have about 35 to 40 tribal members that really are the advisors of our group. And they make up the members of the 11 Grand Canyon tribes. We just had a meeting, like Emily said, our first in-person meeting in a couple of years. So that was really great to really see everyone and get everyone back in the same space and really just sharing each other's, presence and love. And one thing that came up was hopefully trying to kind of shift the terminology and nomenclature of Grand Canyon's associated tribes, because associated tribe kind of, it can be misinterpreted to seem like they're connected distantly from the Grand Canyon, which is definitely not the case. So right here, what we have before us is a picture or two maps side by side. And on the left-hand side is the traditional territories of these Grand Canyon tribes. And you can see kind of, the territories is even the wrong word, excuse me, homelands, ancestral homelands of these tribes before they were put on reservations and signed treaties or whatnot with the government, and were put on now their reservations where they are today, which is on the right-hand side. And I apologize if the vision statement is getting cut off a little bit, but that's just a vision statement, the vision statement of our group. The group came up with it over about 3 meetings when we first started in 2018. And, the group really inhibits and kind of appreciates the value that culture and traditions play in the religious, the daily life, and just the overall community aspects of tribal nations, and how important that is, and how to kind of embrace that while making these contemporary changes with the park and these relationships that we're trying to move forward on. So you can go ahead and switch the slides. Thank you so much. So when we had all of our meetings in 2018, there was so much that was brought up. We asked the tribal members basically how their ancestors felt about the park, what have they heard from their ancestors, as well as how they feel about the park, have felt about the park over the years, and then how they would like to see the park over the next 100 years. And I apologize if you can't read the, anyway, so there was so much said about how to suggest ways that objectives can be portrayed, laid out, and possible pathways of these relationship building and partnerships with the park can go to kind of bring forth a more inclusive park and like I said, more amiable relationships. And there was so much said and so much suggested that we had to organize it into 3 different categories. The first being education. And this is more the short-term timeline objectives kind of categories, and that would just be creating awareness, bringing education to the park in different interpretive fields such as hiking guides, river guides, rangers, different park service employees, as well as anyone who just would like to be involved in kind of receiving that education. You know, we're always up to doing things like we are right now, you know, just really creating the awareness, making sure people know about the 11 Grand Canyon tribes, 11 plus Grand Canyon tribes, depending how you look at the some of the tribes partnerships, but also as well as, you know, how can we put forward this idea that tribes are still existing, they're still contemporary communities, and traditions are still alive, but, you know, people adapt as time goes on. So that's definitely an important message that we're trying to put out. So you can go ahead and switch slides. And I apologize for that little mistake at the bottom. So yeah, this is, as far as those educational objectives go, these are kind of the things that we really took those suggestions and objectives into heart and into mind, and worked with the park, and really are grateful that we were able to do some of these things before the pandemic came about. And so we were able to do presentations and have different ICCG members do speeches at hiking guide seminars, river guide seminars like this one. And then as well as for NPS Rangers, we also were included in the DEI summit at the park in November of 2019, as well as Ed Cabody is one of our ICCG members, and he does his Rumble on the Rim, Rumble on the Mesa, Rumble on the Mountain. And we're really grateful, you know, to support him and through his edutainment that he does and everything. So those are just some of the educational pathways that we're able to engage in. And we hope to continue them when the pandemic, you know, comes to a time where it's a little safer and everything, to get more involved. You know, virtual has kind of saved that, you know, held that place right now, but it's definitely, I think, more meaningful in person to kind of convey the message and have our ICCG members convey their cultural messages and just their significance of the canyon and how they see it. Another project that was really cool that you know, came from originated sort of from ICCG, but more with the assistance of ICCG members and the ICCG team in referring different interviewees as the voices of the Grand Canyon. We also were able to do the Lcr Lifeways project, which is kind of the part 2, which I believe Serena will be talking more about in a little bit. And then another educational objective that we're really working on that's been mentioned already today is the Colorado River curriculum. And that would be to increase in the interpretive skills of river guides and commercial outfitters to be able to really accurately portray the history and culture of the people of the Grand Canyon, the indigenous peoples, while, you know, feeling comfortable and feeling like they're not speaking for the tribes themselves. It's a very difficult project, very complex, but yeah, I think that we're able to approach it more cautiously after the advisement from our ICCG members and everything. And I think that yeah, things are going to be looking good. It might be a slower process than we planned, but hey, sometimes that's how it goes. You can go ahead and switch slides. The next category of objectives that we organized these statements and different suggestions that our tribal members suggested during the first meetings is economic paradigm. So this would be the medium timeline sort of time period. You know, after education awareness is created, then we can move more into economic paradigms and different I guess, entries to the Grand Canyon economy, because the Grand Canyon economy is very bustling. So many visitors and different economic entities within or around the park, as well as gateway communities on tribal nations. And sometimes those that revenue stream doesn't really reach some of the tribal communities. So we're going to really try to enter that economy, but while still preserving those traditional identities and trying to figure out a economic development, I say that with caution, kind of outline that tries to preserve culture and do as little environmental degradation as possible. That might seem like an impossible ask, but yeah, that's what we're really trying to do. And our first kind of crack at it is the Emergence Grand Canyon Economic Summit. It was originally planned for June 1st through 4th, 2020, but due to the pandemic, it was postponed, and we're really excited that we're finally going to be doing it this August after a lot of kind of, misguided pathways towards, ensuring how things are going to roll out and how we're going to really get this done. But it's really exciting to be really on track to have it finally come to fruition and the vision come to life. So that will be at the Albright Training Center. You can go ahead and switch slides, Emily. Thank you so much. These are the event details right here. And so it will be at the Albright Training Center in Grand Canyon National Park. We really like that location. It's kind of like a self-contained unit, has plenty of lodging. The facility is great, and it has that close proximity to the Grand Canyon Village. I appreciate Ed Keeble mentioning the fact that Desert View is kind of a long way from the village itself. And, the powerhouse and the use of the powerhouse building has kind of always been, not far from sight from the ICCG group, and just kind of the opportunities and potential for possibly having a partnership there. So yeah, I think it'll be really great to have this first of the events that are going to be annual events. This is going to be an annual summit this August, and be able to kind of do daily excursions and stuff. And it's going to be free of charge. It'll be 3 days, and we're looking to have from around 50 to 75 attendees, depending on how many people are allowed to have with the pandemic protocols in place. And we'll be basically trying to do outreach and invite Native entrepreneurs, different development companies out in the tribal nations that are looking at more kind of a unique approach to economic endeavors and developing community beneficial economic strategies. You can go ahead and change. All right, so our last and longest timeline objective categories is stewardship. And so this one is kind of tricky because, we work mostly on a grassroots platform, because a lot of times the communities don't benefit from some of the economic endeavors or revenue that the tribal governments of those communities sometimes put in place, or the deals that they make. Sometimes it can completely pass over the communities when it comes to benefits, or just the gap between the wants and wishes of the communities and the tribal governments, which is the reason why we try to operate mostly on grassroots levels. But stewardship, we understand, might and probably will take more of a government to government approach and necessary kind of partnerships. So this one, like I said, it's longer term. So we're probably not going to really start planning for it and really, critically thinking about how this would play out and what it would look like for a couple of years now. But, we hope to have some sort of council or coalition of different tribal members from the Grand Canyon tribes, where they could help integrate ecological knowledge, different traditional knowledge to land management practices in the park and different things like that. And that would be kind of maybe possibly teaming up with, say, the land management services and teams that are in the park right now, like the firefighters and so on and so forth. So that's, kind of just what's been brainstormed and what that might look like, but we're not sure. Another thing that's on our radar is to permanently protect the confluence in Little Colorado River Gorge and Watershed. Amanda Podmore and Serena Riggs have been doing great work on that right now, as well as Larry Foster. And so we're really happy with the work that they're doing, and they will have more updates for you. And then another thing that's really kind of come out of this stewardship aspect and protection of sacred sites and land within the canyon is the Grand Canyon Centennial Protection Act, which basically means to reinstate the moratorium that Obama put on the 1 million square acres of uranium free excavation and development and exploration for extraction. So that would kind of put in place the moratorium that Trump executive ordered away when he got in office. That would protect, re-protect that 1 million square acres from uranium development. And so that has passed in the House thanks to Representative Grijalva and O'Halloran signing it onto the floor, and then now it's going to the Senate. I'm not sure how it's going to do there, but our energy department is kind of taking the lead on that at the trust. So we're really thankful to have them really fighting for that and helping to protect that huge swath of land that's so special to all of us. Okay, you can go ahead and switch. So yeah, as you noticed, probably the title of my presentation is, maintaining traditions, educational traditions, and not to get it confused with traditional nomenclature. I am talking more about customs. For instance, something that came to my mind is how Indigenous Peoples Day kind of takes the place of Columbus Day nowadays. I think that being the third time being involved with GCRG in this event and really being able to kind of raise awareness of the cultural connection of tribes and how just religiously important the Grand Canyon is to the tribes of the Grand Canyon. It's been really special, and also, I think it really just creates the space for further awareness and kind of this foundational awareness that can be built on, as the years go by. I also think it really helps set kind of a space for everyone to kind of engage in that education, and hopefully somehow we can kind of together take that space up and kind of dive deeper into more subject matter and hopefully do more collaborative and interactive work when it comes to education. Like I said, the river curriculum is going forward with caution. We're definitely going to be seeking more decisive decision-making processes from our group, from our members. And I did recognize that there was a question about a river map for Todd and sharing culturally appropriate sites. And I think that, the difficulty in this is that the term culturally appropriate is harder to define than we thought. It definitely ranges from tribe to tribe. So we've definitely ran into some obstacles on how that differs and how different people different tribes look at that, what is culturally appropriate. So, we're really having to reassess and reexamine, but we definitely now know that, kind of the layout that we have for our curriculum is we don't have to kind of scrap it and start over, but we're definitely excited to integrate more of the kind of one-on-one and collaborative work with our ICCG members into the curriculum process as we go forward. So yeah, that completes my presentation for today. I don't know if we have too much time for questions, but I'd love to answer any if y'all have it. And my contact information is right there at the bottom. Please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to talk to anyone and share any information or materials if y'all want to hear more about the ICCG group.
Jack, thank you so much. We do have time for maybe one or two quick questions before we invite our next speaker on. So get that into the chat or go ahead and come off of mute. Jack, thanks so much for your presentation.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're waiting for one or two coming into the chat. Jack, I'm just curious, is there anything that you are specifically excited about or really seeing come forth from emergence of the pandemic? What are you excited about?
Good question. I'm excited about being able to be more in person with people. A call and Zoom cannot replicate sharing space and sharing a meal with someone and, being there and being in the presence of someone, especially when it comes to tribal elders. I think that, with Indigenous culture, it is all about, occupying that space, making sure you're actively listening, and also just being there as, basically looking up to them. I mean, a lot of times I'm looking down to them because I'm pretty tall, but you know what I mean? And I think that's, you can't replicate that. So I think just being able to be together with the group was something special. And I look forward to more of that for sure. And we're definitely going to up our the amount of times we meet and everything. So exciting.
Jack, thanks so much for joining us. I'm going to actually invite Sarana on with us. Let's see if we can add spotlight. You all can say hi to each other, and Sarana's going to join us next.
Hey.
Jack, thanks so much. Great seeing you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next